Hello, my name is Stephen Hogtun, and this is Pitlit. Today I'm going to be reading to you from my book The Station Cat, which I wrote and illustrated with the help of my friend here.
The colour had drained from this place a long time ago. A cold, damp railway station and a platform forlorn. Peeling black paint on wrought iron benches, passengers and travellers without light in drab formal lines. Dull brass railings covered in grime from 1,000 passing hands. Soot-covered chimney pots where smoke-coloured jackdaws squawked. Chipped wooden herringbone floors made ashen with dirt and worn from the trudge of heavy footsteps shuffling along. Spiked fences, smoked glass, shrill whistles, hissed steam, and muted whispers all burnt upon the passing breeze. An oversized station clock hung heavy from its ageing bracket, its ticking and tocking sullen as all passed under its unforgiving and watchful gaze. In this place sadness resides, for no one knows where all the colour hides. Through a gap in the fence a small cat appeared, wearing scrapes and tears. She was skinny and weak, with twisted tail, and she called for her mother along the steel train tracks. Her cries went ignored and unanswered, and glancing cold looks returned to ink-stained newspapers. She climbed onto the platform along the broken stone brickwork and shuffled around the legs of waiting passengers, bumping her head, in hope for affection, a short, brutal life without warmth and invisible to stern faces turning away. If they had only looked closer, they would have seen eyes of radiant jade green staring back. From her fur came a kaleidoscope of colours that shimmered in changing, dancing light. Ginger, cinnamon and chocolate, orange, lilac and fawn, amber and blue hues, gold and carmine, violets and more. She paced softly upon graceful pink paw pads, but now sits ignored and bereft in the mist. For days the cat stayed in the shadows and lay between dark puddles without reflection in the falling rain, calling out from time to time until she fell silent and cold. Among the coming and going of trains, the station stayed sombre and lifeless, and the familiar ding of the crossing bell sounded. People looked up as the announcement came out. The train now approaching platform 1 is the 1422 to Withersfield. From a cloud of billowing steam it appeared, gliding in silence and vapour, a pale train void of any colour at all. Its carriage door open and a conductor with kindly eyes looked out. He studied his passenger list, but there were no names to call this time. Before the train departed, the cat emerged from the shadows and walked toward it, a train to take her away, anywhere from here, and she stood weakly and let out a fearful sound. The conductor looked down at the weary cat, a spectrum of colours set against the background of the dark and the white, and shook his head gently. This train is not for you, and you have no ticket. You will have to save to come aboard. I'll see you again, but don't be down, young kitten. He waved his white flag and steam appeared. The train disappeared into the clouds without a single sound being heard, and the train came and went. The cat went back to the darkness, searching for a home, a place that went unfound, and watched from its hidden spot all come and go. Crowds of people went about their sorrow without noticing her at all. She watched a wistful man in a bowler hat sit each early morning before he sighed and got on the same train. The sighs became heavier with every passing day. Black umbrella under arm, trench coat, starched collar, sagging shoulders and broken expression. The wistful man finished one of his plain sandwiches from waxed paper and his head dropped forward. He glanced at the train tracks that would take him away. The cat approached and twirled between his feet as he sat. "A runaway, are you?" the man said, "looking for your place in—" but his words drifted off. The cat jumped up into his lap. So the man stroked her shimmering fur, and they sat in near silence, except for the quiet whisper of her purr. "I wanted to be a painter when I was younger, but I had mouths to feed, so I go to the city early and come home late." The cat curled up tight in his lap, but they grew up, and I wasn't around half as much as I should have. He looked at the cat's colour glistening in the light and something forgotten became memory again. His eyes welled up, and, as he wiped away the tears, colour returned to his face. The wistful man's train approached the platform, but when he went to stand, he found that he couldn't. The cat was small, but in that moment weighed so heavy. The man continued stroking her fur, smiling and laughing, with visions and thoughts of fulfilling a dream. He didn't board with the other passengers and remained, and the train came and went. The cat continued living on the platform and watched all come and go. She had noticed a faded schoolboy arrive each day. He hung back from the crowd of other children, dark circles under his eyes, torn uniform, frayed laces, tear-burnt cheeks and vacant gaze. He had caught the train heading north each day, but today he looked to the gap in the fence and to the dark woods it concealed. The faded boy turned and nervously paced toward it. He went to walk through the gap, but he found that he couldn't. The cat had run toward him from the shadows, and she pulled and pulled at his pants. The cat was small, but in that moment became so strong. The boy sank down onto the platform floor, and the cat approached and brushed her head against him. He ran his hand through her colourful fur. "I'm so alone," cried the boy, and they sat in near silence, except for the quiet whisper of her purr. "You're here all alone too," said the boy. "Don't you get lonely?" The cat began to clean and paw at his hand. "Will you be here when I get back from school?" the faded boy asked. "I never have anyone to greet me." He looked at the cat's colour, and something taken was returned again. His cheeks went red and flush with cheer. The boy stroked the cat goodbye and boarded with the other school children, smiling and telling them what he had seen. And the train came and went. The cat grew stronger and found her place at the station. She would keep mice at bay and greet the boy every day, and the wistful man would bring food whenever he could. The cat had noticed the saddest person of all, a woman dressed in black who would weep each day. She would arrive with white lilies and return with flowers wilted and dried. Veiled face, ruffled dress, muddied shoes, tears and petals would fall where she stood, and no matter how many of either fell, there always seemed to be more. The woman floated through the crowd, murmuring words about grace. On her arm hung charms of gold hearts on a fragile bracelet. Each day she caught the train to the valley and returned at supper time. One day the cat noticed something was different. The woman laid the flowers on the station bench and headed toward the coast train, travelling the other way to lost beaches and crumbling white cliffs. As the woman went to board the train, she found that she couldn't. The cat had run toward her from the darkness, and she blocked the door so the woman could not pass. The cat was small, but in that moment she appeared so large. The woman dressed in black slumped back on the bench next to the lilies and sobbed. The cat twisted around her before settling on her lap. "You look like a beautiful bouquet," the woman said, while she stroked her glistening fur, and they sat in near silence, except for the quiet whisper of her purr. "All the best flowers are picked first," she said as she looked at her lilies. "Why do all the pretty things last the least?" And with that, she let out all the pain she had held for years. The cat stood up and bumped her head against hers. She stared back at the cat's colour as the cat played with the charms on her bracelet. The woman dressed in black let out a laugh, and something once heard was echoed again. She stroked the cat before drying her eyes, and picked up her white lilies before standing. The woman got on her usual train to the valley that she took each day, with flowers to her chest and smile returned. Her lips turned to colour as she held them, and the train came and went. The cat grew older and happy and was stroked by all who waited. People would miss trains to talk to her and keep her company. Children would endlessly play with her, and her bowl was never left empty. The cat lived a long, happy life full of company and love, an endless stream of petting and warmth. And with old age, her fur turned grey and the platform seemed to bloom. The colour had returned to this place a long time ago. A warm, pleasant railway station and a platform bright, freshly painted vivid shades on cushioned benches, passengers and travellers without cares in happy conversation scattered about, polished golden brass railings made gleaming by hand, heated chimney pots where brightly coloured songbirds danced and sang, waxed wooden herringbone floors reflecting the light blue sky, which chorused the light footsteps that now skipped along it, welcome signs, glistening glass, kind greetings, warm handshakes, and gentle laughter all carried on the passing breeze. An oversized station clock, watching over anew, is ticking and tocking a caring beat and rhythm to the movement below. In this place, happiness resides, for everyone knows this is where the colour thrives. The man, once wistful, hung his paintings from the station for all to admire, paintings of freedom and carefree brushstrokes that seemed to shimmer and glimmer in changing, dancing lights. The boy once faded had grown up strong and bright. He had been made station master and kept all gleaming. He made everyone welcome with smiles, stylish pants and polished shoes with rosy cheeks and bold stride. The woman once dressed in black had lovingly planted flowers and hanging baskets that exploded with new life for all to see. Primroses, pink fuchsias and impatiens, sweet peas, snapdragons and campanulas, and graceful flowing forget-me-nots. Everyone talked and laughed and smiled, and in the middle our station cat, old and grey, tired yet content and restful. She watched as all around continued unburdened. Then came the familiar ding of the crossing bell, and the call came out. The train now approaching platform 1 is the 1422 to Withersfield. But the crowd didn't notice as they talked and bustled and played. From a cloud of billowing steam it appeared, gliding in silence and vapour, a pale train void of any colour at all. Its carriage door opened and the conductor with kindly eyes looked out. He glanced at his passenger list, and there was but one name to call. The cat looked up knowingly and hobbled forward toward the train, a carriage to take her away, her journey over. She stood proudly and let out a fearless sound. The conductor looked down at the old noble cat, a dappled grey creature against the backdrop and spectrum of colours, and nodded his head kindly. This train is just for you, and you have more than earned your ticket. You have saved enough to come aboard. Now come aboard, with your head held high, old friend. The cat stopped momentarily to look back and ponder. Have no fear, said the conductor. You'll still be near. Our journey is only ever to the station next. The cat got on, and the conductor waved his white flag and steam appeared. The train disappeared into the clouds without a single noise being heard, except for the quiet whisper of her purr. And the train came and went.